Hey folks, this is Yuri Karasawa with Japan Ball, 12 MPB teams in 12 days, and today's team preview is for the Yokohama DeNA BayStars. In the regular season last year, they were only 2 games over 500 at 71, 69, and 3, but they snuck into the postseason thanks to a late collapse by the Hiroshima Carp, and they end up going on this Cinderella run to win their first Japan Series title in 2 decades. They take down the defending champion Hanshin Tigers in the first round. Then they move on to the league championship and upset the pennant-winning Yomiuri Giants. And then with all the odds stacked against them, they do end up beating the juggernaut SoftBank Hawks in the Japan Series. So as you can see, 110 OPS plus, 100 is league average. This team was very heavily carried by their offense. 98 ERA plus though, so just a smidge below average, not too bad. Negative 68 defensive runs saved. That is where this team is pretty weak. It's the defense, not good at all. What do they do over the offseason? Well, they brought back Trevor Bauer, who's obviously highly controversial. Don't really have to get into that. All I'll say is that 2 years ago, he had a really rough start to his career. Then he figured it out and actually pitched really well down the stretch, although he missed the postseason due to an injury. He was in Mexico last year, set all these records for Diablos, and now he's heading back to Japan here. He's 34 years old. I don't expect him to be as good as he was back in 2023, but still a nice addition to their rotation. I think a underrated move they made, though, was trading for Masaki Mimori from the SoftBank Hawks. Kind of a utility man, super speedy, one of the fastest guys in the league, an excellent defender. I just think he adds a lot of much-needed depth to this team's infield. The guy they sent over in that deal was Haruhiro Hamaguchi, veteran left-handed pitcher, so they no longer have him. Taiga Kamichitani, also going to SoftBank, but he went through the active player draft. He was a guy who was kind of a swingman for them, would get an occasional spot start, play kind of a long relief role. JB Wendelken, Mike Ford, 2 foreigners that did play a role in their Japan Series run. Wendelken 2 years ago became a good setup man. Mike Ford was more of a bench power bat. So they're gone now. And then Yamato, who played shortstop kind of in a backup capacity for a long time, is also gone as a free agent. 2024 MPB draft, they do nominate Yumeto Kanemaru with their first round pick, but they lose the lottery. Getting Kanemaru would have been huge to kind of supplement the loss of Shota Imanaga 2 years ago. I mean, that's really what made their Japan Series run so incredible. They did it without Imanaga or Bauer. 2 enormous hits to their rotation, but they got the job done anyway. Kanemaru, again, he would have been a big get, but they don't win him in the lottery, unfortunately, so they settle for Yu Takeda, who was not really that highly touted of a prospect, but more of an MPB-ready guy, so, just kind of buying stock into just depth immediately. Kentaro Shinogi, coming out of college, is kind of a similar situation. He threw an awful lot in college, so I think there's a little bit of injury risk there, but Takeda and Shinogi can definitely give them some immediate help. So I think that's what they were kind of going for with this draft. 2024 hitting leaders. Again, this was this team's bread and butter. Tyler Austin, 197 OPS plus, led all qualified MPB hitters, 34 doubles, 25 homers in 106 games. Wins the batting title as well at 316. 2020 and 2021, when Austin first breaks onto the scene, he slugs 600 and he looks like one of the best foreign imports in recent history. However, he struggles with injuries in 2022 and 2023. Barely plays at all, and it kind of looks like his career is coming to an end, but he has this enormous bounce back in 2024 and reestablishes himself as not only, one of the best foreign hitters in MPB, but honestly the best hitter, period. So obviously he is the heartbeat of this offense alongside Shugo Maki and Toshiro Miyazaki. Maki, one of the best well-rounded players in MPB right now. 33 doubles, 23 homers for him as well. Very similar to Austin there in terms of counting stats. Great slash line, a 154 OPS plus. 11 stolen bases as well. And, second base defense for him is not great, but it's not so bad that you have to immediately move them off of it. Toshiro Miyazaki, he is the veteran contact specialist. I mean, a 6% strikeout rate last year. It has been below 10% now for, I think, a decade straight as well. So on top of adding a little bit of pop, he just gives you some quality at-bats with that incredible bat-to-ball ability. Yuda Yamamoto is an elite defensive catcher, and his offense is up and coming as well, so you can definitely plug him in, and get a lot of production on both sides of the ball. Keita Sano, when Yoshi Tsutsugo left the team a number of years ago, kind of played a big role stepping into his shoes. Taken a step back the last few years, but he's still all right. A 116 OPS plus is nothing to scoff at. And then they have, some other outfielders, Koki Kajiwara, Masayuki Kuwahara, Tatsuo Ebina, who can kind of move between, center field and right field. None of them are particularly flashy or outstanding, but they can get the job done. Kuwahara actually won Japan Series MVP because he was crazy hot. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo comes back to the team after, 5 years stateside. Not really going to have a giant role on this team anymore, but a big bench bat for sure. Keito Mori was able to establish himself late in the season as the starting shortstop. And then Ryuki Watarai was their first round pick in 2023. Didn't quite have the breakout that people were hoping for, but great numbers down in the minors. So a lot of people are going to be expecting a much better sophomore season. Pitching leaders, the not a strength for this team, but it's certainly not bad. Katsuki Azuma at the top, 183 innings to lead the Central League. Not really a strikeout arm, but just a soft contact merchant who consistently gives his team a chance to win. Had a streak of 30 plus quality starts in there as well, going back to 2023. So just a guy that you can reliably expect to anchor the top of that rotation. Then, guys like Andre Jackson and Anthony Kay played a huge role in the postseason. The second half for them, especially Jackson, was much better than the first half, so they improved as the year went on, which is, very important as we look ahead here to 2025. They have some other guys there as well, Shinichi Onuki, who's a veteran, Yutaro Ishida, who's a rookie. Those guys were all right. Teruki Yoshino, another rookie. They were just kind of piecing things together as best as they could in the rotation last year. This year, though, obviously, bringing back Bauer, they have to balance that out in terms of how many active foreigners you're allowed to have on the team at once. But, that's kind of a big three with just their foreigners alone in Jackson, Bauer, and Kay. Bullpen, the big breakout for them was Kohei Morihara. He came over in a trade from the Rakuten Eagles like 3-4 years ago. Only had like one good season in a half decade up in Tohoku, but huge season for him. 29 saves, excellent ERA as well. So he was huge. Chihaya Sasaki, who came over in the active player draft, had a very good year in a lower leverage role. Yuya Sakamoto is kind of the lefty specialist there in the bullpen. And then they have some other guys like Rowan Wick, Ko Nakagawa, who, Yasuaki Yamasaki, the former closer for this team. They're not too flashy, but they're definitely not bad. So how does the depth chart look for 2025? Catcher, Yudai Yamamoto, again, in my opinion, probably the best two-way catcher in MPB right now. Tomoya Mori for Oryx is the best offensive catcher, but Yamamoto does everything. And then right behind him, Shion Matsuo, in my opinion, the number one prospect in MPB. So they're doing excellent there in terms of depth, which is funny because not too long ago, catcher was a big issue for them. Yasutaka Tobashira also came through huge in the playoffs after Yamamoto went down with an injury. So, again, very solid catching carousel there. First base is Tyler Austin. He does always seem to get injured, though, at least once or twice a year. So Keita Sano, Yoshi Tsutsugo right behind him. Shugo Maki at second. That's a superstar right side of the infield. Shortstop is, a little bit more iffy, but Keito Mori was trending in the right direction last year. And then Toshiro Miyazaki, another guy like Austin who can be really banged up and miss, extended periods of time, but when he is healthy, he can still very much perform. Outfield, Keita Sano, not a great defender, but he can hit. And then Kuwahara is pretty good in the outfield defensively. Kajiwara is a total free swinger, basically never walks. So I honestly expect quite a bit of regression from him, but he's very fast. So as long as he's putting the ball in play, he can still, beat out some infield hits. And then I mentioned before, guys like Ebina and Watarai can definitely contribute as well. Rotation right now, it lines up to be Azuma, Bauer, Jackson, K. Really strong front four there. Kentaro Taira, kind of made out of glass. He never seems to be healthy, but when he's right, he can be really nasty. And then, the number 6 spot in the rotation, you can give it to any number of guys. I mentioned Takeda, who they just drafted. Kozono was their top pick a number of years ago. Yoshino and Ishida were okay in a small sample size last year. And then Onuki, and even ended up getting some Japan Series starts. So a veteran that they can rely on. Bullpen, they threw out a lot of guys that didn't really have much experience or didn't really have the best numbers. But at the end of the day, they were keeping runs off the board. And when you do that, the offense can really kind of carry you. So Morihara, Hiromu Issei, they've even tried to kind of stretch out as a starter, but he's okay, I think, in the bullpen there. Taisei Irie coming off an injury. And then, guys like Wick and Sakamoto and Yamasaki, if you have a little bit of luck on your side, can end up getting the job done as well. So DeNA BayStars here in 2025, basically the same exact team that just won the Japan Series, except you add, Trevor Bauer back into the mix. So obviously that could have some bad implications when it comes to, I think, the clubhouse and kind of, the vibes there. But in my opinion, this is a team that has very much an ability to repeat. I don't know if they're going to necessarily run the table. They've got some other teams there in their way, like the Yomiuri Giants and the Hanshin Tigers, but first or second place is definitely on the cards for the DeNA BayStars. It's just a matter of, can guys like Austin stay healthy? Is the defense good enough? And can they avoid some really big regression in the bullpen? Because otherwise, I think they're just going to chug along and they're going to beat you with the bats. So that is how the DeNA BayStars look for 2025. Let's see how they respond after winning the Japan Series.